It all started off like any other night. I had plans to fall asleep and get a good night's rest, but this night in particular, that wasn't the case. I was up for hours on end, tossing and turning, and random thoughts and memories floating through my mind. After some time, I decided to head to the living room and watch some TV, hoping I'd fall asleep on the couch. However, that was far from what happened. While watching some videos, I set my eyes on a VHS tape hidden in plain sight. The first thing I thought of, who has a VHS tape in 2023? As soon as I set my eyes on it, I knew it was a matter of time before I let my curiosity get the best of me and play the tape. As my heart started to beat faster, thoughts racing through my mind, what could be on this tape? This is really creepy. Let's just go to bed. Things I saw on this tape, well, you'll just have to see for yourself.
Once upon a time, in the kingdom of heaven, so many angels lived with God. The harmony of that place grew, and the sin did not yet exist. The angel closest to God was none other than Satan.
When we look back at history and its earliest inventions, some have a feeling of nostalgia, gratitude for how far we've come, and even curiosity. For most people in the late 90s, they see this old technology as a piece of their childhood, remembering the old TV shows they used to watch, the time spent with their family, and the countless memories created just from this device alone. However, if you were to ask people nowadays what they feel when they are shown this, some might echo similar sentiments as the older generation, but you might run into a few who only know this from an aesthetic that garnered its popularity in the 2010s. A genre of horror that looks off-putting, anxious-riddled, and flat-out scary. The genre is composed of media integrated with an old TV look and sound, VHS tapes, in 1950 to 1990s inspired format to give an uncomfortable feel to it. Despite knowing the media is not real, there is something about putting it through a time machine and watching it that gives off an eerie vibe, as if maybe there's a slight chance there is something out there in the darkest corners of real life that resembles this. Somewhere. The amount of lore this rabbit hole contains is what draws people into the aesthetic. Each series has its own universe, with dark and mysterious details and storylines. Gemini Home Entertainment, an analog horror about extraterrestrial creatures overtaking Earth. The Walter Files, an analog horror about killer animatronics, inspired by the popular game series Five Nights at Freddy's. The Mandela Catalog, an analog horror about unorthodox shape-shifting and subsequently killing people. This is just barely scratching the surface on a cold, disturbing iceberg. The catalog is assorted with media, ranging from video game characters depicted in a scary, sporadic manner, cartoon series and moments that we all remember watching for entertainment growing up, but now it's transformed to something disturbing that you can never truly forget about. Other forms of media that fall in line with analog horror is video games, made to capture this aesthetic and live through analog horror through a first-person lens. Movies such as The Blair Witch Project, The Last Broadcast, 1998, The Ring are a staple in the analog horror aesthetic. Then, there are videos that are just straight bone-chilling, provided with very little context on what's happening, who this person is, and what the purpose of this media is. But does it even matter?
Okay, now, what's the address?
I killed my husband.
What's your name?
Isabel Jackson.
Okay, Isabel, do you have anything to defend yourself with?
Oh my God, they're gonna get us. Please help me.
What?
I can never do it.
Isabel, do you have anything to defend yourself with? Okay, listen, stay calm, and all the windows in your bathroom.
Imagine you're in a hospital. You see doctors swarming you, frantically moving around to assist you. Your vision is blurry. You hear the sounds of medical machines muttering as every second passes. You seem to notice everything is slowly fading to black. Medical is an aesthetic that is centered around everything medical related. This can range from hospital equipment, medication, common hospital settings, and even a mix of weirdcore added to the already puzzling aesthetic. The fashion aspect of this aesthetic contains, well, you could probably guess, hospital scrubs, gowns, nurse uniforms, masks, and much more. Along with this aesthetic, there's a subgenre of similar aesthetics that are interesting, to say the least. Sickcore is centered around the physical aspect of looking ill. Pale skin, dark circles around your eyes, and malnourished. Dentalcore is about teeth and the instruments used to do procedures. Nursecore is about nurses. And pukecore, apparently it's unclear on what classifies as pukecore, but the description of this aesthetic is odd to say the least. It's meant to evoke feelings of, God, this is so bright and shiny that I feel like I'm about to throw up. But then after that, I can just lay down on the soft blanket and play some Pokemon until I feel better. The purpose of this media is to help people cope with feelings of loneliness, anxiety, a sense of helplessness, and other negative emotions a patient might be going through. Despite the aesthetic's purpose being rooted in helping people, we all know by nature there's going to be a small section of people who use this media to romanticize the idea of being hospitalized, taking prescription medication that isn't required, and satisfying their deepest, and sometimes darkest, desires. The reason I personally believe people glorify this aesthetic could be coming from a place of wanting to be nurtured. As humans, we thrive off of attention and care. It's something that's embedded in us since the start of time. So it's no secret that when dealing with an injury or illness, you receive more attention and care. Maybe that is the driving force for this fetish some have. What possibly starts off as a lack of self-love and emotional support has now turned into something people gravitate towards to escape the painful, lonely reality they must live in. Day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second. As you pass on, you notice your soul detaching from your body. As you're slowly moving, waiting to transition to the afterlife and see what's ahead, you notice something that makes your ghost heart, I guess, drop. You notice that you aren't floating up, but instead, you are floating down. Devilcore is an aesthetic that revolves around Satan and any other demonic figures. The aesthetic is often expressed through pictures of fallen angels, mysterious locations, and demons layered with a red tint to give it that demonic touch. Partying, lust, drugs, addictions. These are activities that are often encouraged when embodying the aesthetic. In addition with the pictures, the fashion senses, outfits based on darker tone colors, red and black being at the forefront of this. Anti-crosses, chokers, devil horns are some accessories that are commonly worn as well. To live a life where you indulge in hedonistic behavior, distract yourself from the pain, and worship something so evil and sinister to everyone else, but to you feels like home, is audacious to say the least.